So part 2, what are the high ROI foods that I talked about? Right, so we will start first with protein sources. Now these are the exciting part because this is the ROI foods, which means the thing that is going to be the most important in this course. Remember, money is against you, so you have to use it as wisely as possible. Right? Always go for the cost effective, the high nutrient dense foods, high ROI foods for Brokie. So we'll start with protein. So the general tier that I've made for most people is the top foods are egg, salmon, red meat, beef liver, and oyster. And then we have in the okay tier the chicken thighs, sardines, mackerel, shrimps, cheese, and then the useless tier breast, soy, egg whites, and tilapia. So you see in the top tier, most of these very high in nutrient, right? Eggs, so rich in a lot of things: zinc, cholesterol, choline, vitamin K, vitamin A's. A lot of them are very rich in eggs. Same goes with salmon, which is super rich in omega-3, which most people are deficient in, and they get a lot of imbalance with the omega-6, which cause them to be pro-inflammatory. And also red meat, of course, we all know red meat are the king of all meats. Okay, and then we have beef liver, which is the world's #1 most nutrient dense food on this earth. And then we have oysters, which is super rich in zinc. But the problem is that most of these foods are going to cost a lot of fortune. If you are Brokie, I have made this Brokie version tier for those who don't have much money. So if you're Brokie, focus on these foods. The top tier is eggs. Eggs are super cheap. Beef liver are also super cheap, and they are very cost effective. But always remember that don't eat beef liver more than 7 ounces a week, because it can lead to overdosing. That's how powerful beef liver is. Okay, it could lead to overdosing. So average you want to aim for is around 1 ounce a day or 7 ounces a week. Now personally, I don't like beef liver, but hey, you got to eat those things that are good for you, right? And next, shad and canned oysters. Now these are the real difference that I take it out from the general tier for most people here. Okay, so if you're eating fresh oysters, that's gonna cost a lot. But if you're eating shad, canned oysters, which you can find in some supermarkets, they are so cheap, so cheap. Okay, and next are organ meats, and just like beef liver, they are also very cheap and very cost effective. But again, always check with your chronometer, make sure you're not overdosing with some stuff, okay? And finally, sardines. First of all, they taste good, and second of all, they are very rich in omega-3s, which, as I said previously, most people are very deficient in omega-3s. Okay, this can cause a lot of imbalances with the omega-6 and cause pro-inflammation. Now, if you want to go for the okay tier, well, then yeah, sure, it's still good, but it's not as good as the top tier. But in anyways, you still want to be eating most of this okay tier, but try to get most of the top tier. And in the useless tier, you should know that these foods are just wasting your money and time. Like chicken breast. Why is chicken breast wasting your money? Because it doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. It just have those dry meat protein, just some few proteins and a little bit of choline, and that's all. Not really much. But if you're talking about chicken thighs, that's where the fats are, the fatties, and gives you much more bang for your buck. Okay, soy, egg whites. You don't want to be investing in egg whites. Like, what the fuck, man? You are natural. You're a natty and you're broke. You shouldn't be eating egg whites only. Eat the whole goddamn eggs. The whole goddamn eggs are going to give you most of the nutrients. And tilapia, which is a low tier fish, don't eat them. Shrimps, yogurt, quite useless, man. Right, next, the top carbohydrate sources. Again, we have the tier for general people, which the top is quinoa. We have basmati rice, we have beans, and also sweet potato. In the okay tier, we have potatoes, oatmeal, whole pastas, brown rice, wholemeal, bread, basmati rice. Quite good as well. But then we have the useless white rice, white bread, and all other processed stuff. So if you are Brokie, then how do we approach to this? Okay, the top tier and the most cost effective is going to be these foods here. Potatoes. Yeah, I know it's in okay tier, but when you compare it to the prices that you're getting for potatoes, holy shit, you're going to go to top tier. And not only just that, but they taste very, very good, especially if you make them mashed potatoes. Well, I could go ahead and eat them all day long because they're so good, right? They're so good. And we have beans, we have the potatoes, we have bran and fruit. Listen to these: potatoes, bran, and fruits. Bran is going to give you a lot of magnesium and fiber that a lot of us are very, very deficient in. And then there are fruits. You absolutely need more fruits. Most people need a lot more fruits than they think, because a lot of us are very, very deficient in the micronutrients that are provided by fruits. Okay, lack of antioxidants, lack of vitamin C's, lack of other vitamins, fiber, magnesium, which you can find in abundance from fruits. Now, in the okay tier, we have quinoa. Quinoa is going to be one of the best carb sources for testosterone, which is crazy. They even have this thing called ecdysterone because it can boost your strength like so much, but it goes to the okay tier because it is quite expensive for the amount of return you're getting in back. But don't get me wrong, okay, quinoa is so good. So if you have the money, then go for quinoa. It's not that big of a deal. Then we have oatmeal, we have whole pastas, we have brown rice, wholemeal bread, and basmati rice. But the top of this okay tier is quinoa, and we have the basmati rice. And then finally, in the useless tier, these foods, they're not useless if you are wanting to get a lot of carbohydrates in, especially after a workout, or you want to refill your glycogen stores. Then these foods are actually good. But in the general scheme of things, these foods are quite useless. White rice, white bread, they don't have much of those micronutrients, and a lot of their nutrients have been taken off when they are processed. Alright, so next, the top fat sources. So again, we have the general tier. For most people, we have the top tier, omega-3, right? I told you all about how important omega-3 is, which you can be getting a lot of them from your sardines and salmons, but as a Brokie, we don't need salmons, unfortunately. Then we have the monounsaturated fats, which comes a lot in abundance from extra virgin olive oil. Then we have fatty fish, we have extra virgin olive oil, avocados, almonds, and eggs. These foods are so good. They have a lot of quality fat. Anyways, the Brokie's best selections, if you are Brokie and you want to get in more of those fats, best selections are frozen avocados. Yeah, frozen avocados, not only they're cheap, but you're getting them, most of them peeled off already, so you don't have to think about peeling them off and getting your hands dirty. You just put it in the blender and shake it with some milk and eggs and olives, and boom, you get a healthy fat shake. Milk are quite expensive from where I came from, but in the whole general scheme of things, they are actually one of the best foods still. Right, eggs, you cannot go wrong with eggs, one of the most important foods on this planet of Earth. Olives, nuts, and sardines. Of course, you need those omega-3s, which comes from sardines a lot. So if you can get a lot of sardines, then definitely do. If you cannot eat enough amount of fatty fish throughout the day, get some omega-3 supplements. Now, the top vegetable sources. For vegetable, it's gonna be the same, okay, for broke people and the general population. Because why? Because vegetable are cheap. They don't differ much from the prices from one vegetable to another. Of course, some vegetables are much more expensive, but the magnitude of difference is not going to be that much. So the top tier will always be the number one king of all vegetables goes to spinach. And if you want some very powerful blood flow, go for the red spinach. the red spinach is going to make you very hard in the morning, because spinach also contains those compounds called testosterone, like we talked about quinoa in the latest few slides ago. Testosterone helps you a lot with your strength gain. And then we have watercress and kale. These top tier vegetables are very loaded with a lot of micronutrients, vitamins, and all the minerals that are important to be your building blocks for testosterone. Okay, I would actually put up broccoli in the top tier to focus more, because broccoli is the best food that is actually a cruciferous vegetable, so that will help to flush out estrogen. So we have the okay tier, the asparagus, broccoli, beetroots, lettuce, Chinese cabbage, cauliflower, parsley, seaweed, and mushrooms. And then we have the useless tier: cucumbers, carrots, peas, Brussels sprouts, celery, green beans, cabbage. These are most probably the vegetables that are not nutrient dense, but we eat a lot of them. We love cucumbers and carrots, right? And celery and green beans that our parents used to tell us that they are good for us. They are good, but not in relative to other vegetable sources that you can get from spinach. Holy shit, that's a hell lot of difference. Okay. And so finally, the top fruit sources. Okay, we have the general tier for most population and the Brokie version. I'll go with the general tier first. The top of the general tier is avocados, kiwis, pineapples, papaya, pomegranate, berry. And you can see how these are actually quite expensive, I know. Then we have the okay tier: bananas, watermelon, grapes, cherry, apple, apricots, strawberries, oranges, dates, mangoes, and durian. And there aren't any in the useless tier. Why? Because fruits are just so good. Okay, you got to spam fruits, guys, because they are so good for boosting testosterone, and we are neglecting them. And then we wonder why we are always sick. We are always ADHD. We can't focus on stuff because we're not getting in all those nutrients that coming from fruits. Okay, we are getting it from meats, we are getting from vegetables, but we are not taking fruits. Then there's a lot of deficiencies that we cannot account for. You got to eat in fruits, guys. Eat more fruit. Cannot go wrong with fruits. Okay, and the best part is fruits are not that expensive. Okay, of course we have some fruits like avocados and kiwis. They're gonna cost a lot, but then boom, we have the Brokie version of the fruits, which are the frozen fruits. You know, if there's something that have changed my life a lot, is these frozen fruits. One is because they are so easy to prepare, and second, they are cheap as fuck, guys. What the fuck? This is a literal cheat code. Okay, I can get a lot of these frozen fruits like avocados, kiwis, pineapples, and berries. Super cheap price. In fact, you don't need pineapples. Pineapples are quite cheap. And with papaya, the reason I don't put papaya in the frozen fruits category is because papaya are very cheap. You don't need them frozen. Okay. And the okay tier: bananas, watermelon. This, remember, guys, the foods in the okay tier are not useless. You still want them for the main amount of volume of fruits you're taking. Okay, but if you can focus on the top tier, but also get those in the okay tier, because some fruits like bananas, dates, and plums and apricots, they have a lot of potassium, that which is very important as well. So don't neglect those fruits high in potassium. Okay, and useless tier, now there's no useless fruits. Again, spam fruits, guys. Spam fruits, because they are so good for testosterone boosting, and they are relatively quite cheap. And that's all for part 2. Let's move on to part 3.